Roy supports single people in getting into relationship shape so they can attract healthy, sustainable relationships. And your main website, Roy, is coachingwithroy.com?
Correct.
Okay, so people can also check that out.
Right.
So we're going to get in shape for love, and we're going to get ready for love. But I want to start with something, Roy, and I just want to hear a few of your thoughts on what are some of the key things that you see happening out there when you're talking with single people that hold them back from finding the one. So I want to talk about what might get in our way before we talk about the strategies and ideas on how we can move in this direction.
Yeah. And in my mind, those are almost the same question.
Okay.
So I'd like to frame it this way. So we want to find the one, and I want to come at that a little bit of a backwards kind of way and say, really, to find the one is about being the one. Mm-hmm. In my experience of working with people for, I don't know, gosh, it's 15 years now. I mean, exclusively with single people, mm-hmm. and mostly single women who want to attract a healthy, sustainable relationship. What I've really seen is that the problem is not so much about finding the one. It's about finding and discovering the things that are going on within you that are either responsible for attracting the wrong partners or creating dynamics and relationship patterns that don't work. So my emphasis as a coach is more on having the person sort of get in shape. Be the one, be the healthiest, highest functioning, most evolved person that you can be, because we always attract at our level of functioning or consciousness. We always kind of attract someone, or put it this way, whatever relationship we're in will never be healthier than we are. Mm-hmm. Okay. So this is a big shift in sort of the focus. But I think it's the shift that really I've seen make all the difference in my life and my clients' lives, is less about who do I sort of want and more of a focus on what's going on within me and how do I need to grow? How do I need to work on some of my relationship muscles so that when I meet someone, I'm really ready to go the distance. I'm really ready to play at the level that my heart really wants to play at, right? Because we all want to meet someone who is a grounded, kind of a high functioning, got their blank together, and they're just a solid person. Besides the chemistry and the compatibility, we want to attract a person of character that we can trust, that we can build a life with, that we can function together in a healthy way and resolve conflicts and communicate and tackle problems together and mutually support one another, right? We want that kind of person. Well, that person really does exist. Those kinds of men, since I'm talking to women right now, they are not all taken or gay. Okay. They really are out there, but they're looking to play with a woman who is as evolved and highly functional and able to handle conflict and communicate and handle emotions and right. So when I'm speaking about this, I always look, Michelle, for like a metaphor or something to explain it. And just half an hour ago, I was thinking of the game of tennis, right? No matter if you play tennis or not, it's sort of like we would really like to meet a good tennis player. Like I'd like to play relationship or play tennis with, Serena Williams or Roger Federer, right? I want a really good, solid, maybe not the best in the world, right? But there are Serena Williams out there. There are Roger Federers. There are really good tennis players out there. But see, if we play with them, the only way the game works is if we're sort of on the same level, right? Because if I walked on a court with Serena Williams, if she played her normal game, I couldn't even hit one ball back to her, right? So in order for us to play, she'd have to kind of play down to my level. And then eventually, if we wanted to play tennis every day together the rest of our lives, there's no way. It would be no fun for her, right? But I do want to play at that high level. I want a tennis partner who is really good. Well, then that means I have to raise my game. So that if I stepped on the court with Serena, I could play and she could play. And you know what I mean? So if you can get your head around that metaphor, we all want really high level partners. The question is, are we relating at the high level ourselves so that when we meet that person, we can play the game with them? Right? Now, here's the little ugly part. And I don't know all of the people listening to this. And I'm not saying everybody is, unevolved or lost or got all kinds of problems. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is, since I know my own ego, we have a tendency to think we are more relationally fit than maybe we are. I know I used to think that way. I used to think that a lot of my broken relationships, because I had 4 or 5 pretty deep, intimate relationships that tanked. I used to think it was kind of all their fault, right? I kind of thought, no, I got my shit together. Oops, sorry. I mean, I thought that I was all that and healthy and this and that. And then I looked at more about what it means to be in relationship shape. And I'm like, oh, it wasn't them, it was me. I mean, they might have had some issues too, but I wasn't playing at a very high level and it showed in my relationships. So I just want to say to people watching, I don't want to say be hard on yourself and get negative and self-loathing. And I'm not talking about any of that, but I kind of want you to wonder, do I need to work on myself a little bit and get myself in better relationship shape? And I just find most people sort of overestimate themselves and they think, well, no, not me, Roy. No, I'm really good at handling conflict. I've really let go of my past. I'm really good with, masculine, feminine dynamics. I'm really great at communicating what's happening inside of me and honoring my feelings and expressing my feelings. And I'm good at handling other people's feelings. I'm good at listening. I don't want people to turn off the computer. If we were that good, you wouldn't be single, is kind of what I'm saying. Like, my relationships would have worked out if I was really relationally fit. And so because probably all of us have a relationship history where things haven't worked out, and I'm not saying your previous partners were Serena Williams type people. Okay. Not saying that. I'm just saying, could it be possible that maybe before you kind of meet that one, and maybe you need to raise your own game to kind of get yourself in better shape so that when you do, things can go forward, right? And I want to just say one quick more thing. So I don't know where the COVID thing is when you're actually listening to this. My guess is it's still a pretty big factor, kind of a limiting factor in our lives and our pursuit of intimacy. Okay, maybe if you're listening to this in 2022, maybe it's sort of gone. But my guess is it's still a factor. And you're still limited a little bit. Now, that can be seen as a real negative. Like, God, why are you doing this to my love life? I can't go out and meet people. I can't do the normal thing. You could view it as negative, or you could view it as, and this might be perfect time because I'm limited. I've got some time maybe to do some work on me, kind of in the background, so that as things begin to open up a little bit more, you may be better prepared when you meet this person to hit the ground running and create something beautiful. Because like I've had 3 major relationships in my life. When I mean they lasted for years, okay? All 3 of them right now, I would never have met them. What I mean by that is I met my first wife in college at a big social gathering. It wasn't like a fraternity sorority thing, but it was like that. It was hundreds of people. That's where I met her. Well, I couldn't meet her that way right now because you
Right.
can't go in groups and packs of people. The second relationship I met at a local kind of a posh, swanky restaurant bar here in Chicago. I had a friend, a mutual female friend that invited me, to this place. It's ladies' night. I'm going to bring a bunch of my friends, Roy. I think maybe one of them you might connect with. So it was in a bar where you're wall to wall packed with people, right? I don't know where you are, but that's not happening. That's not possible right now. And then I met my current wife by going to a personal growth conference. There was hundreds of people in the room, like a hotel auditorium, a speaker. I wanted to hear the speaker, the topic, and I just sat down next to the prettiest girl in the room, sat right next to her. Can't do that now, right? So we are in a place in life where the pursuit of intimacy is really more challenging. But that could have been a really good thing for you if you take it like, oh, maybe I can use this time to work on my relationship muscles. And Michelle, that's kind of how I frame my work. I have found that there are 7 relationship commitments, ways of being. I call them the relationship muscles that need to be strong if you are going to relate in a healthy, sustainable way.
Mm-hmm.
And this time when the universe has put you in relationship timeout, you can use it as I'm going to get in shape, like a preseason in football. I'm going to get in shape in the preseason before I can start playing the game. Because if you get in the game and you're not in shape, it's not going to work, right? So I guess that's the appeal that I make to the viewer. Open up to the possibility that you need to work on you so that your next relationship is your last one and your best one. And that's what I help people do. And that's what the free gift is about too. My book talks all about that. So I'll stop there and then you can ask some questions and we can interact. But I wanted to kind of set that framework for our discussion.
Sure. Well, I like the analogy a lot, and I like the direction you're going with this a lot, because I actually think it's really empowering when we recognize that we have some control. And what we have control over is what we're doing with ourselves and with our lives. And it's easy to blame the factors out there. I mean, COVID is certainly a factor right now, but even prior to COVID, it's like all the good ones are taken. There's no good men. I keep attracting the wrong people, so on and so forth. And at some point, like you, Roy, I had a very long and winding journey to love before marrying my husband 14 years ago. And at some point, I had to say, I am the common denominator here as to why some of these things aren't working out. And like I think probably many people here, I felt for a very long time prior to meeting my husband that I was really ready for the right relationship. I felt that, but there were some blind spots. And it wasn't until I identified some of those blind spots and some of the behaviors that were not serving me and some of the beliefs that were not serving me that I was able to have a breakthrough, which allowed me to kind of up level my game, so to speak, in order to now meet my wonderful husband. And so as frustrating and disappointing as some of those experiences were, there were also learning experiences, and there were things that I could glean from them and patterns that I could begin to see in my own life. Eventually, it took me a long time, that really hadn't been serving me very well. And some of these things are a little tricky because some of them can be kind of subtle or kind of operating underneath the surface. right? Like it can be
Oh
a
yeah.
belief like I'm not deserving or worthy or lovable enough, or I'm not enough this, or I'm too much that.
Right.
Or another example that I see is kind of an anxiousness about this. Like they're like someone is so anxious to meet someone that they're just really investing in every message trail online. Or if a guy doesn't call back in a very specific amount of time, there it
Yes.
causes a lot of anxiety and anxiousness.
Right.
And so something that I want to have you pick up on here. So what I think we don't always realize, and here's where you can pick up after I say this, Roy, is that from an energetic standpoint, we don't always know that people can feel this sort of thing, whether it be fear, whether it be insecurity, whether it be that anxiousness, that anxious attachment style. But people can feel that. People can feel our energy. So part of what you're talking about, I think, is, we're overall raising our energetic vibrations too, and cleaning up where we can some of these things. Because I think we've all experienced that phenomenon where you go out with someone and you can like feel like almost a desperateness about them. I'm sure they're not trying to convey that, but we can feel it, right? And just the same way, people can feel that from us. They can feel energetically where we're at.
Yeah. Yeah, you're exactly right. In terms of when we speak of things that we are doing, and what we need to work on, that's one of the major ones. Everything from our internal stories that we carry, that I'm not good enough, I'm not pretty enough, I'm not skinny enough, I'm not worthy, some way. We have all those stories that limit our ability to be playful, to be available, to be more of our authentic self. A lot of times shyness or a lack of confidence is what we might feel on the surface, but underneath that just comes from, we think that maybe we're flawed in some way, or we're not good enough in some way. And so who's outgoing or energetically available when they're having those messages? So that's something that's one of those muscles that needs to be dealt with. Otherwise you will attract someone who's attracted to your negativity, and then that's going to go in an unhealthy direction. And then you bring up maybe the biggest factor. It's like, the more I want it, the less attractive I become. And it's such a paradox to be like, okay, so I really want to find the one, I really do. And the wanting of it can be the biggest obstacle to it. It's almost like, can you get to the place where in this now moment, not like you are accepting the future, there is no future, you don't know the future, but like right now, can I get to the place where I'm like that Bible verse, this is the day the Lord has made, let us rejoice and be glad in it. Like this day I'm single, like I'm happy, I'm okay, I'm whole, I'm complete, I'm not missing something. I don't need someone to fix my loneliness or to fill a void or to finish some story of me not being lovable, right? So that takes some work to do on yourself, because what happens in relationships is we feel like we're not okay on the inside. It's whatever you want to call it, a restlessness, an emptiness, a feeling of somehow being not good enough. Okay. There's something, loneliness, or there's something that's not okay in here. And what the mind says is, if I find the partner, they're going to fill that void.
Yeah, like that's going to validate my value.
Right. It's going to fix that problem, whatever that is inside of me. Right. And that just it sounds very logical. It just doesn't work. You're never going to find someone on the outside of you that can fix the inside of you. Right. So the work is, that's my job. But the point is, what you were saying is, the more that you're going through life feeling like, I need a partner to make me feel whole, to maybe make me happy. It's the you complete me mindset that all of us say we agree that it's not good, but we don't live that way. We live with that ache, that sort of neediness. And you're right, you can't hide that.
Mm-hmm.
You can't hide when you're not present and available. But I don't need you. Like, if we're a good fit, great. If we're not, that's okay. You can't hide that need, and that's when you're the least attractive version of yourself. But you're the most attractive when you're like, I'm here and I'm open, but I don't need you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm okay.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? If we click, wonderful, right? So it's such a paradox that the more you want a relationship, the more it hinders your ability. And I don't know if the viewer can get their head around that, but there is an internal work that you can do where you can really feel connected, and you can feel like you're in relationship even without a partner. You can feel like life is your partner. Life is your lover. You're not alone. You're not disconnected. You're not set apart. No, you are one with life. You are intimately connected. So there is a way I work with my clients to help them begin to experience that in their bodies. So then they go out in their pursuit of intimacy, but now it's not a pursuit. Now it's like, I just enjoy the possibility of interacting with people, and let's see where it goes. And when they're in that more sense of, I'm already in relationship, I already have a lover, it's life itself. It's in me. It's making love to me. I'm making love to it. I'm alive. You're happy, right? You're going to be happy, which means you're more playful. You're more able to be your authentic self. You're more able to flirt. You're able to interact without fear of rejection. If I don't need you, then why would rejection be such a terrible thing? If I already have this lover, I'm already in a relationship, then I'm not afraid of you liking me or not liking me. I don't have to pretend to be somebody I'm not to get you to like me. I can just be me. And that happens to be when you're the most attractive version of yourself.
Yeah.
So it's the people that don't kind of need a relationship are the ones that are ending up in relationships, right? Haven't we all experienced this or heard someone say, I'm fed up with it. I'm just going to live my life, enjoy my life. I'm not looking for a partner anymore. I'm just done with the seeking and the chasing and the trying to find. And I'm happy. I'm good. Whatever happens. It's like when they give up, it's like, then they call you in 3 weeks. Like, I met somebody. Mm-hmm. You're like, what? I'm doing all these things and I'm not meeting someone, or I meet someone and it doesn't go anywhere. And you've from a good place have given the whole thing up and just let it go. And like, whatever life wants from me, life is going to give me, I'm fine. You found the person. Well, that's the path that you can be on too. You can kind of let go of all that wanting and needing and seeking and find this connection within yourself. So this is spiritual work, right? This is deeper type of work, but it ends up making you the most attractive person you can be. Mm-hmm. And you find yourself in relationship.
Yeah, there's a business coach that I've followed for a number of years. And one of the things she says that I like about business, and it applies to our love lives in a way too, is that we can be successful if we're committed, but not attached. So what she means by that is you're committed to your vision of what you desire, because I do believe that this desire that we have for partnership is an innate human thing, and even perhaps, a divine gift, because I do think that with the right partnership, life can be even that much more joyful. Mm-hmm. However, so we can be committed to this vision and moving toward this vision, but not attached to the specifics or the outcome or, any one email chain online or any one guy. Like I always tell women that your value is not diminished or changed in any way by what is or isn't happening with any guy out there.
Yeah.
Because when we're kind of like centered in knowing our own value, and we're living our lives fully and richly and joyfully and focusing on the things that we do have some impact, that we can have some impact on, like some of the things we're talking about here today, up leveling our own lives, then that helps raise our energetic vibration. We get more centered in that so that we can move through these, ups and downs of dating. And it is a roller coaster ride for most people, without it completely throwing us off and having us despair and discourage and make up all kinds of stories about it because some guy we've never even met didn't write us back in a timely basis online. I'm just giving that as an example. And so I like this idea of being committed to your vision, of holding on to that dream of what's really important to you, but not being attached to the specific ways that this has to manifest or roll out. Like I can remember I had a woman ask me recently.
And when? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I had a woman ask me recently.
Wow.
She said, would it be okay, or would it be a good idea if I gave myself a deadline on when I need to meet somebody by? And I thought, that's not really the way life in the universe works. We have to, on some level, we have to trust in the abundance of God or the universe or however you believe that things are working exactly in our favor. I mean, Roy, you and I, without the struggles we had in our own lives, we wouldn't be so passionately doing the work that we have now. So we could sit here and say that our path was divinely guided exactly the way it was supposed to be, even during all of those, hair pulling, frustrating, disappointing, heartbreaking experiences that we had along the way. Because it's because of those struggles and the things that we learned that we have the compassion and understanding and the passion for helping other people who are on similar journeys, right? If we hadn't had that, we would be doing something else.
Right. And right now I'm putting myself, what I think is in the viewer's body right now. And I'm hearing people say, yeah, I mean, I get that trust, intention without attachment, and trusting life that it's going to unfold in a way that is serving our growth, right? Because when you went through your trouble and I went through some of the breakups I've been through, in that moment, if you just said, Roy, relax, this is actually going to be a good thing for you, I might have smacked you because I was so hurt and upset. But now looking back, things have unfolded that have been for me. They're not happening to me, they're happening for me. So this whole attitude of intention, yes, I want a relationship, but no attachment, and trusting. I'm not going to put I got to meet someone by the end of the year. If that's not attachment, I don't know what is, right? I mean, that's just, I got to have it by a certain time, as if you have control over when you meet someone. It just, if you do, you'd be in a relationship. You'd snap your fingers, right? So the viewer, I'm thinking like they're saying, okay, I get all that. How do I get there in my soul? How do I get to that place where I'm not attached? I mean, it sounds good. How do I grow this trust in God or universe or whatever, to where I'm just trusting my life is unfolding as it is supposed to, and then I'm that relaxed, free, no anxiety person? Well, that's the question. It's easy to describe what it should be. The issue is, how do I get from where I am to there? And that's what I do as a coach. I mean, there are ways to really open in trust. There are ways to have intention without attachment. I still work on that in my life. My other life is I still play some professional golf. I used the tennis analogy, before, but golf is my thing. And it's the same thing in golf. You want to have intention. Like, I want to hit the ball there, and I have a visualization. I know what I want. But then you have to hit the shot without attachment. Like, I don't care if it goes there. Because if you try to make it go there, you're going to steer it and your body isn't free and the ball won't go there. So it's like you have to have intention, but you can't care. Mm-hmm. You have to be free of attachment. And then your body can do what it does because there's no fear in it. There's no effort, right? It's the same way in your love life. Yeah, you have to know kind of what you want. You also have to be that person who could be in that relationship, right? We all have this vision of what a relationship, we want a relationship to function like this. Well, we want to level up so that we can do that. But then you have to be able to sort of, I don't care if I find it. I can't make that happen. I'm just not attached. I'm not needy. I'm not holding on too tight. I'm not trying too hard. I mean, we're talking to women here. You've all been around guys that you can tell they're trying way too hard. Mm-hmm. And that's universally a turnoff. Mm-hmm. Like you don't want the bad boy who's not available and just distant and disconnected, but you also don't want somebody who's like obsessed and I have to have a relationship. And on the first date, when are we getting married? It's like, whoa, God, no, something's not healthy. So there are ways when you work with you or you work with me, there are ways to get there, to get that unattachment.
Right. Well, I think one of the big ways is as we up-level our lives in whatever ways make sense for each individual. But as we look at the areas of our lives that we can dust off or polish or whatever a little bit, there's always room for that in every life because, that's what life's all about, is learning and growing. And as we find more joy and satisfaction in our life, exactly as it is right now, that becomes a very attractive energy. So in some ways, focusing on that, ironically, makes it actually more likely that you'll invite in a partner without that specific attachment of exactly how it's going to happen.
Right. But I'd like to add on one more layer to that now. Okay. So it's almost like the first layer is letting go of the neediness and the attachment and the craving that can put out an energy that doesn't feel very attractive. Mm-hmm. On top of that, then, is I would like if I was possible, every person viewing this, I wish I could, let's use another metaphor. I wish I could take you to the gym. And let's say you want to get in really good fitness shape, physical shape. Well, the first thing I would do, I'm not a trainer, but the first thing a good trainer would do is they would sort of assess your current fitness level. Let me run you through a couple of things to see what your current levels are, muscle, flexibility, and different things. So then we find out what we're dealing with here. And then I can put a program together to get you stronger.
Right.
To reach your goals. Okay. Well, that's what I do as a relationship trainer. We know what your goals are. We know the kind of relationship you want to be in. I'd love to run every single one of you through a couple of questions to check the 7 relationship muscles and see where you're strong and maybe identify some areas where you're weak. Mm-hmm. Because it's though if you're weak in some areas, when you meet the one in 21, if you're not strong in those areas, it's going to sabotage that relationship from being what it could be. So I kind of wish I could meet every person and run them through a couple of tests and ask them a few questions and see where they are in their emotional intelligence, see where they are in their ability to communicate and handle conflict and end drama, see where they are in terms of their masculine, feminine understanding, because that's a huge issue that most people misunderstand. I want to ask questions about where are you in relation to all the things that have happened to you in the past? Like how much baggage are you carrying? Not if you are carrying, but how much, and how much is that maybe going to sabotage you moving, right? So I kind of want to run everybody through a little assessment and see where you are and say, oh, well, now that I get a picture of where you are, I can design a coaching program to get you in shape. And this time where COVID's got us on the sidelines in some ways, what a great time to do a workout program on you so that when you you're able to go out there. Now you meet this person and you are kind of relationally prepared, right? So that's the layer. Once you sort of deal with that lonely, empty feeling that can drive you to show up in ways that reveals an unhealthy energy, then you got to make sure that I'm at a high functioning level so that not only can I get a date, but can I be prepared for it to go the distance?
Right.
Right.
Right. Well, and
now,
I think that's a lot
I
of
have a test like that, by the way, for people.
yeah.
So
Well, yeah,
you'll find more about it.
Yeah, I think we have our methodology, and I think that's one of the key things we help our clients with, because as I mentioned earlier, sometimes these things are blind spots. They were for me. And I think it's very common for us to have blind spots where things, it's kind of like a hard drive in a computer. It's running the show, but we don't see it.
Right.
Like, because we're too close to our own lives. So
right.
having that assessment and looking at things, having someone help us look at those things. I know I had to do that in my own life in order to see some of the limiting patterns and behaviors that were holding me back. And believe me, Roy, when I tell you, I tried to do it on my own. I mean, I can't even tell you. I literally, this is no joke, because I'm a reader. I read 125 books within about a year and a half on love, dating, relationships. That still didn't do it. Now, I picked up some valuable information from that, and I gleaned little bits and pieces, but I was still too close to my own life to be able to see clearly exactly what was going on. And so I do think it's important to have that vision. And I will say this, I actually don't think that some people's visions are as clear about what they want as they think they are. So I think that's also another area to look at, because they might have some vague idea of what they want, but like when you really get into, what does that really look like for you? For example, I'll have some women say, well, I might like to get married, but maybe not. And then I'll say, what would you really have if you could really have no matter what if you could have whatever you wanted? And they'll say, well, I really would like to get married, but I don't know whether or not maybe the man I meet will want to get married. So in other words, they're like basing what they're saying they want based on this unknown person that's not even in their lives yet and what they might want. So I actually think some clarity about what it is you're wanting can be helpful to help also help you through those ups and downs that can be dating, along with this really looking at, what the areas are that can be up leveled.
Yeah. What you're talking about is just limiting beliefs.
Mm-hmm.
These stories. Well, I want to get married, but I don't think this guy. And so that kind of thing closes your heart, because you have this assumption that men don't want what you want, or that there's like finding a needle in a haystack. Like,
or you just can't have it. It's somewhere out there.
Right. That shows it's something, it reveals the way you see life itself. And it's just showing up with a guy like, I don't deserve, or it's not possible. And when you carry that energy, it closes you down. I mean, if you walk out of the house with, there's nobody out there that really wants what I want, well, you're going to be a Debbie Downer. But so one of the muscles I talk about in my book is that muscle between your ears that tells these stories and has these limiting beliefs. That one's got to be strong. Otherwise, it affects your whole energetic system.
Yeah, it can sabotage everything.
Your mind.
Yeah, it can sabotage everything.
Yeah.
We can be doing all the so-called right things out there, but if this is if we've got the wild stories and limiting beliefs going on here, it can sabotage the efforts on the outside.
And it's the kind of thing that, like you, I haven't seen anybody make these kinds of deep shifts by themselves.
Mm-hmm.
I know it's self-serving, but we're both coaches. That's how we make a living. But I hired a coach for 2 years. I don't know how long you worked with yours, probably a good long time.
Mm-hmm.
These are deep shifts in the way we handle our emotions and our past and our communication and the stories in our heads. All that stuff comes from childhood conditioning, background experiences that have left scars and wounds. I mean, so The reason why there's not many really awesome lasting relationships is because people don't do this kind of work. I mean, let's just say it. To live with another human being and create harmony and enjoy each other and do that for decades is ridiculously hard to do. Right? They're so opposite of you. I mean, first they're going to be opposite in terms of gender, most likely. I mean, sometimes not, but it's another human being with a whole different background, a different ego, different experiences, different wants, different likes. And I don't care how compatible you are, you're never going to meet someone like you. You probably wouldn't be attracted to them. I mean, opposites attract.
Right.
So it's really hard to make a relationship work, is my point. And the reason why there are so few good ones is so few people focus in here with my relationship issues and getting myself in shape. So the more you'll find people, the more that people have good relationships. If you ask them, they will have a history of awful relationships and they got sick of it and they worked on themselves for a while and then they met someone and now it's all different. Mm-hmm. Right? So be that person. Be that person that steps away for a second and says, I'm going to focus on me, get myself in shape so that I can be one of the few people that has a relationship to die for, rather than just something that's, well, we put up with each other. That would be fun. Spend the rest of your life with someone where we tolerate each other. And, the old lady, she's all right. The old man, he's a pain in the ass, but it's all I got. Who wants to live that way? Right? So
it's not terribly inspiring.
No, if you want to wake up every day and look at the side of the bed, I can't believe that person's with me. This is so awesome what we have together. That doesn't come by luck. It comes by working on you.
Right.
Rather than, where do I go on Saturday to meet the person? That's not the question. The question is, am I in relationship shape?
Yeah. Well, and it's such an important question to ask because, like I said earlier, I felt for many years before I met and married my husband that I was ready. But in retrospect, of course, hindsight is 2020. We could only have that vision in the moment instead of in retrospect. I can see there were ways that I really wasn't ready. I really wasn't.
Yeah.
I thought I was, though.
It's my experience.
I absolutely thought I was.
Right. That's the point I was making earlier, that we have a sense to be self-deceptive. We think we're ready, but we're not. And the only way you can open up to the possibilities, if you look at your past and say, well, they didn't work out in the past, maybe I had something to do with that.
Yeah, exactly.
But it takes a brave person. And again, we're not saying that everybody's like falling apart and you're a big loser. And no, it's just, you probably have some blind spots. Mm-hmm. You probably have some relationship weaknesses that you don't know are weak. In fact, you might think you're strong in an area where you might not be. So don't you want to find that out?
Well, yeah. And, the other tricky part, besides the fact that some of this is not necessarily as visible to us for ourselves, we can often see it a lot easier than others, what's going on for them than ourselves. But another thing that I think makes it a little tricky is some of this stuff that you and I work on with our clients on, Roy, is rather nuanced. Some of it is kind of subtle and nuanced, and yet it can make a really big difference in their overall experience in relating and dating. For example, knowing how to do that masculine, feminine dance, in some ways, some of the things that we might recommend might seem kind of subtle. Like, does it really make a difference if I say it this way or I do it that way? And actually it can. Yes. It actually can. Yeah. But it can seem kind of subtle or kind of nuanced, perhaps, on the outside looking in. So, yeah, we're certainly not saying that, I know this audience are incredibly talented, successful, right, lovely, capable, amazing, smart women. And I also know that some of these things can be blind spots and can be a little bit hard to see. And some of it are just, some of them are just like subtle nuances or things that you can tweak or change that can make a really big difference in your overall experience with men and dating.
Even Serena Williams has a coach.
Right.
And she's pretty good. LeBron James,
She's all right.
right? LeBron James has a coach, right? So no matter where you are, you can get better. And so really a lot of this, I mean, some people are just interested in personal growth. They're just interested in their own evolution. And those are the people who will respond to what we're saying. Some people just are not, they don't want to be introspective. They don't want to look. They don't want a mirror to be put up in front of them so they can see their reflection. And those people normally don't respond to this. So, but I'm sure people that are on these calls are certainly the kind of person that says, nah, I love growth. I love learning. I love my own evolving. I love seeing where maybe I've made a mistake that I can change. How, one of the questions I always ask my client, you probably do too, let's talk about your previous relationship, not in terms of to make you feel some emotion, but what can you learn from it so that you don't repeat it? What was your part in what happened so that you can walk away feeling like, okay, that relationship didn't work out, but it sure taught me this. Mm-hmm. I'm a better partner because of what I've learned from that relationship. Even if your heart was broken and they betrayed you, there's ways of looking at your past and using that to wake you up to new ways of being so that you move forward. And all of that becomes a part of who you are now. Most of us just want to run away from our past and not even think about it because it's so painful. But then we end up repeating. It's that whole, if you don't pay attention to history, you're destined to repeat it. Right? That's a big piece of our work is what can you learn from your past? You have to let it go so it's not emotionally still got you. And I can't trust you because that one cheated on me, right? So that's very common.
Right.
But you also want to learn from the past so that, you just don't create the same, it's not Groundhog Day. It's the same relationship over and over and over again, the same patterns, so forth.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. I mean, that's one of the key things that I think we can take from past relationships is what can we take forward that gives us wisdom and insight so that we can learn things about ourselves and how we might have contributed to whatever caused the relationship not to work out or whatever blind spots we might have had so that we don't continue to repeat that.
Right. And just another analogy, and women know sports, right? But, after a football game, the first thing the team does is they all sit down and they watch the film. Mm-hmm. Like, what did you do? Where did you mess it up? What can you get? How do you need to get what? But sometimes in our relationships, we never sit down after a relationship and watch the film.
That's a good analogy.
And where did I go wrong on that one? Okay, sure, they had their problems. Forget them. But what did I do to contribute to that? How could I have responded differently? What red flags did I not pay attention to? What mistakes did I make? Right? So you watch the film, you learn from it. Well, players don't watch the film by themselves. The coach is sitting right next to them. And the coach is like, do you see that right there? No, not really. Well, if you'd have done this or that, it would have turned out different. So that's what our role is to kind of watch the film with our clients and help them see themselves. Oh, I didn't know I was thinking that way. I didn't know that communication pattern would create that dynamic. I didn't know, you know what I mean? So that, if you want a great relationship in the future, that's the kind of stuff you have to do. In my opinion, it just doesn't happen.
Right. It's not been my experience. It does.
Yeah.
At least for many of us, it didn't for me. And probably if you're here, you probably feel the same way. Our intention here is really to give you hope and really to give you encouragement and give you tangible ways that you can, even whatever's going on with COVID, whatever's going on in the world, you can still be empowered to do some things that are going to help you to feel like you're moving your life forward, enjoying life, and becoming that partner that you want to attract. Because I do think, kind of coming full circle, that is a really key piece that we don't always pay so much attention to.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah. There is hope. I mean, yeah, and when you set it as your goal and I want to grow. I want to evolve. I want to get in relationship shape. No matter when the universe brings that person to you, you still win because in the meantime, you're growing, you're evolving, you're learning, you're expanding. So it's like you can't lose.
Well, exactly. Well, exactly. And Roy, you know this because you've been on some of my other events, my man panel events, where I interview all male experts. And in talking with some of the men, both on camera and off, sometimes I'll ask them a question like, what attracted them to their current partner, wife, and partner or wife. And in many cases, men have told me, well, she was just so lit from within, some version of she was excited about her own life, or she was, so passionate about the things that were important to her, that the very attractive qualities. And those are things that we can focus on right now, no matter what's going on in the world, no matter what's going on out there, no matter what, we can focus on living our lives in that joyful, passionate way that energetically also raises our vibration because we're enjoying life more, and is going to be incredibly attractive when the opportunity comes to meet someone.
Yeah. Beautiful. Beautiful. I call that feminine radiance. So when or if a man ever sees it, if your life is about raising your radiance, well, then you win. Right? Because you're becoming the best version of you. And eventually he's going to see it. Because the light, it shines. It's going to, the masculine is very attracted to radiance, right? So, but in the meantime, the benefit is you're growing and your radiance is expanding. And so, it's like you have your cake and then the guy sees it. Oh, that's the icing on the cake.
Yeah. And here's the little secret. You're going to enjoy being with you more right now. You're going to like yourself more when you're in that space. It's going to be more fun and more enjoyable, no matter what is or isn't happening with any man.
Well, that's what great coaching is. When a client says to the coach, I'm more comfortable in my skin now. I feel more grounded, more centered, more confident. I know who I am. You know what I mean? It's that is that's back to the beginning. That's what's attractive rather than the insecure, needy one. I've got to find someone to be happy feeling that we all can relate to.
Absolutely. I really appreciate your generous sharing and really, really appreciate your partnership.
Thank you very much. And I've enjoyed every conversation we have.
Yeah, thank you so much. And for everybody watching, we're so grateful that you're here and we look forward to having you on more. Bye-bye for now.